Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the 2U's of 2U's Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at 2usfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our 2U's Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning, Marsha.
How are you?
I'm doing well. I have a new addition to the family. You've probably seen pictures.
I saw. Very cute.
Yes. Sadly, we lost one of the hens, the barred rock that was named Rosemary. She was one of the batch that we got in 2019. Mm-hmm. And she had not started laying this spring. So I knew something was up because the other two were laying. And we thought maybe she was, laying rogue out in the yard somewhere. Mm-hmm. But so we kept him in the coop for a couple of days and still, only blue eggs, nothing from her. And so we knew there was something going on. She didn't act sick, but there was something about her reproductive system that wasn't working properly. And then a couple of days ago, she started looking bad and she died overnight. So then we were suddenly down to only 2 chickens, and one of them is 8 years old. Lily is from the previous batch of hens or chicks. And so she's 8 and she's going strong. She lays every day. She's, doing great. But I never want to be in a situation with only 1 chicken again. We had that for a while where we only had 2 and then 1 died. And then we had one of the Eleanors that we just had 1 chicken and she was inconsolable. Mm-hmm. And, it wasn't the time where you could just go buy a chick. Mm-hmm. We had to wait until the next spring. And then even when you go buy a chick, it takes 6 weeks before they can be outside. And anyway, so I thought, well, and Robert too, he was like, we need to do something about this. So we went and we're sad to lose her, but we went and got 3 new chicks. Mm-hmm. 1 barred rock. We ended up getting 2. They call them Americanas. They're the ones that lay, or Easter eggers. They lay blue,
kind of the bluish green eggs.
Yeah, blue or blue green eggs. And so that's what Lily is. She's the one that's 8. And Clover is also a good layer. That's the other one that we have, and that's what she is. And so I got 2 of those and then 1 barred rock because I really like the barred rocks. And we don't have a lot of selection. People on Instagram were saying, oh, I got this and this and this type of chickens. And I was like, oh, I want those type of chickens. But we don't have a lot of selection at our feed
Can you
store.
have them shipped to you? I know there's a thing where you can actually have live chicks shipped to you.
Yeah, and you have to have them
weird,
shipped in really high quantities.
Oh, okay.
Because they have to be able to keep each other warm.
Oh, okay.
While they're in transit. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's like 2 dozen. Way too many. The neighbor behind us, at one point, the neighbor behind us did that and ordered chicks and had like 25 chicks running around his backyard. And he said, they had to buy that many. And so then they were going to raise them up and give them to, they had friends who wanted them. And, but this is the neighbor behind us with the screaming, French bulldog that fence fights. I mean, my dogs fence fight too. I'm not saying they don't do it, that they're not at fault. But this bulldog, oh my God, the noise they make. So anyway, they've had problematic backyard creatures for a while because when they had these 25 chicks, they kept going through the fence into the other neighbor behind us into their yard. And they were so upset. First, they were upset because their dog barked all the time. And then all of a sudden, these little chicks kept coming through the fence. And of course,
to get away from the dog, probably, you know.
And they, at the time that they were really, really little, of course, they weren't running loose, but, they're at that 5-6 week age. And they do a lot of, 25 small chickens can do a lot of damage in a regular sized backyard, So anyway, that was just an interesting little experiment that they did when their daughter was really young. They wanted to have chicks and have her experience, having chicks, and so they had like 24 of them. So no, I'm not doing that.
No.
I don't like raising chicks
maybe
that
somewhere.
much.
Maybe you can find one someplace. Well, now you've got enough. Now,
we have plenty. So now we'll have 5 in the flock. But it'll be 6 weeks before they're out with the other chickens. So they're cute right now. They're darling. They are in the little, half of a dog crate with a heat lamp on them. And I get them out periodically to hold them, and they're a little peeping noise. It's very cute. And in a few weeks, they're going to start to stink. And then it's not going to be so much fun.
Yes. So I saw on Instagram you posted a picture of Bailey, with her head over, looking at the chicks. Is she pretty good with them? I mean, she's pretty curious, right?
Yeah. She's really good with them. She's good with the chickens, and she has been from pretty early in the time that we had her. She was good with the chickens. I remember telling her, German Shepherds are all-purpose farm dogs, so you have to be able to live with chickens. And it was like, this is not really true, but it was like I told her that one day, and the next day she was helping me round them up to get them into the coop at night, So,
I believe it. I mean, I think they understand a lot more than we give them credit for.
Yeah, anyway. She seems to, and she protects the chickens. When Barry first came, she herded him away from. She would go and body slam him away from the coop when he was looking a little too intently at them. So yeah, she's real curious, and she's reliable. So I've let her be sniffing them all over, and when they were, I had them under my bathrobe last night, and she was like poking at the bathrobe, trying to sniff them, through the bathrobe, and then I let them out to, I let her see them. I didn't want them out because it's too cold. I trying to keep them warm. But she was real concerned, like, okay, wait, they're not sticking together. One of them's over here and another one's over there, and we need them to be all in your lap together. And so anyway.
Pretty cute.
And I let Barry sniff them, but he's a little bit more, he's totally unreliable. He actually killed a chicken in the early days of having him. He started doing better, and we thought he was okay, and we knew he wasn't totally reliable, and we kind of just forgot that we weren't leaving him out alone with chickens, and he ended up killing one. But overall, he's gotten much, much better. Yeah. Now that we've had him for 2 years, I still don't trust him, but he doesn't chase them.
He didn't understand the conversation you had with him.
He did not. No, he doesn't understand English the same way that Bailey does. He must speak a different language. Yeah. So he tries. Yeah. I think what happened probably was, at that time, I think maybe something happened and the chicken ran. And he just couldn't, he just couldn't lower his arousal level and think clearly about how he wasn't supposed to do that with chickens. Yeah. So I don't know. We never did find out exactly what happened. We didn't catch him at it, but there was a missing chicken and some feathers and he was very sick that night.
Yeah.
So
There was circumstantial evidence that he committed the murder.
He was convicted through circumstantial evidence, exactly. Anyway, the household has some baby chicks in it, which is fun.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they're cute.
Yeah.
Cute until they start stinking, but yeah. So,
Right.
Sort of like our children. They're cute until they start soiling the nest and we kick them out of the house. Anyway. Well, before we get to projects, I was just going to say, I was at the beach last week, had a fantastic time, super fun, nice weather. This is what our routine at the beach is. You get up around, 7 or whenever you feel like getting up. Mostly you have to get up because the dogs want out. And then you sit around the house drinking coffee and you're having breakfast till about 10:30. Then we head to the beach. We're down there till 1:30. Then we come up and we go to the wine bar, have a glass of wine and split a flatbread. And then we go back to the house, clean up the dogs, sit in the hot tub till it's time for the cocktail hour. Sometimes we had tea too in there. And then, so we do fibery stuff in the morning and then fibery stuff in the evening. And then we'd watch, Kim, told us about this Ted Lasso that's on Apple TV. I had heard about it, but I had never watched it. So she has watched all the seasons. So we started watching that. And then, so in the evening we'd watch a couple episodes of Ted Lasso and then, and do fiber things. So it was a lovely week. I had a great time. But the weekend before that, we went over to Bainbridge Island. We went to the Bloedel Reserve. I'll put a link in the show notes. It's just a beautiful garden. So we had a fun day took the ferry, went to the Bloedel Reserve, walked around there for about 2.5 to 3 hours probably, and then went into Winslow. And we went to 2 yarn shops, Lamb and Kid. And Kelly, do you remember Lamb and Kid is at Stitches where you bought the $25
the pom-pom
or whatever?
Yes.
Pom-pom, yeah. And then we went to La Mercerie, which is also there. And so it was a fun day.
Oh, that sounds fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And I will talk about it. I did buy at Lamb and Kid. She dyes the label Lamb and Kid. She also has another label called Diamond Lane, and it's DIMOND, and then Lane like wool, LAINE.
Oh, mm-hmm.
And I got 2 skeins of worsted and called I've misspelled this in my show notes. I put Elber. It's Elmer tweed worsted, and 2 colors fur, which is kind of like it's a green, and then farmhouse is kind of a gray, and they have flecks of color in them, like red and blue, and I think there's yellow in there. And so anyway, I'm going to make a hat, and Knitty Barb of the 2 Knit Lit Chicks is always talking about the bankhead hat, so I'm going to cast on that. But anyway, I can talk about that. Well, I'm just going to talk about that so that I don't have to talk about when I talk about projects. I'm going to make a hat for Ben out of that. And I was laughing because I was looking at the bankhead hat, I would say, is very easy to adapt. So you could put stripes in it and you could just make it a solid color. And so I am going to put stripes in there. And we had a conversation about the stripes, and I'm going to do the jogless row. I'm going to do that. And I was also trying to remember, and I could not remember the name. There's a cast on that when you, it looks like you don't have that line. So, a lot of times when you cast on, you get like a line that goes across. And so I could not remember the name of it. And it's the tubular cast on.
Oh, right.
And there was a sweater I made that had a tubular cast on at the, like the ribbing at the bottom of the sweater and the sleeves. And as I recall, you used like waste yarn first, and then you started knitting somehow with your main color, or with your main color, but your project yarn. And I actually, on Brooklyn Tweed, Jared Flood has a video about doing the tubular cast on where you don't have the waste yarn. You just So anyway, I'm going to do that cast on. I haven't
cool.
started yet. I'm going to work on that tonight. But anyway,
that's a nice pattern. That purple hat that I have is that. Well, it's an adapted version of that pattern because I like 2x2 ribbing better than 1x1 ribbing. And so,
well, and I will say, I watched a couple of videos. Jared Flood doesn't talk about this, but there was another video, I think it was from Coco Knits, where they talk about how you cast on a 1x1 rib, but then as you're doing the first setup, so the first setup row, because there's 3 rows that you have to do for the setup.
Marsha wants me to correct that it's actually a Pearl Soho video, not a Coco Knits video.
I'm sorry, I take it back. I think there's 2 rows that you have to do you do the cast on and then you knit 2 rows and that's your setup for it.
Okay.
But when you do I don't remember now, it was the first or second row. I could put a link in the show notes to both videos, but you switch the stitches. So then you switch it. So then they become, you switch the purl and the knit stitch. So then you can do a 2x2 rib. So I'll put a link. It was very clever.
I don't know why, but I just like 2x2 ribbing better.
Yeah.
I did not do any kind of fancy cast on. I just did a regular cast on when I did mine, and 2x2 ribbing, and then switched, to the type of ribbing that's in the main crown of the hat. And then I did a few others, and I think I adjusted the ribbing in the main part of the hat to be a multiple of 4 so that it would fit, or I don't remember what I did, but I changed that up a few times. Once I did it like the pattern called for, and then another time I did it with like a 5x2 rib or a 5x3 rib. I don't remember. But I changed up the ribbing a few different ways when I was making it. It's like you said, it's a good canvas for experimentation. So, but anyway, since I'm talking about projects, I think I'll just continue talking about my projects. Yeah.
So, the Noromania blanket.
Oh.
So I worked a lot on that at, when we went to Knockers and then at the beach, I worked on it every evening. And so I now I've knit about 46 inches. It might be more than that now. I didn't measure it today. And I put here in the show notes, this started out fun. But at slightly past the halfway point, it's becoming a slog. I think maybe I said this in the last episode too.
I think you did.
It's getting to be a bit much.
You're way further than the halfway point now.
I don't know if I'm because I think it's going to be about 80 inches when it's done.
Well, looking at it when you had it laid out along the couch, it definitely looks like you're more than halfway.
Well, the only thing is when I have that picture I sent you where it's laid out on the couch, it's folded in quarters lengthwise. So it's 5.5 feet wide.
Oh, you showed the width.
No. What I showed is what I did is I just folded it lengthwise into half and then half again, and it's laid out. So, I don't know. Maybe that width is.
It was almost as long as the couch.
Oh yeah.
So maybe
I should remeasure it.
I think you might want to. You don't have to do it now, but I don't. I think you're further along than what you think.
Okay. Because I'm sick of it, man. I don't know why. I just I was down there I'm sick of it. The other thing too is it's getting so it's very difficult to take. The other blanket's driving to the beach and down. I would have been working on that because it's mindless. Right. I can't get it in the front seat. It's
right.
Because I really find the only place I can really knit on it now comfortably is on the sofa, or if I'm sitting in bed and it's laying off to the side, to the left of me, kind of, because it's but anyway.
I remember when you got to this point in the one that you made out of your dad's sweater. Because that
am
was,
I repeating myself?
No, well, I'm just
vu.
saying it was very heavy. You know, that one was
Yes.
heavy as well as
Yeah.
large. And you got to a point where the only place you could work on it was when you were visiting Pody. And you could set it on a chair next to your chair.
I put it on a chair,
Yeah. It was just pretty unwieldy to take with you other places.
So I think this is the last blanket for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Because I did the last blanket I did was that lace blanket. And at least that was kind of interesting. This is, like, what's interesting is the color changes, but it's just garter stitch. It's like, yeah. Anyway.
Well, and the color changes are interesting for the first 15 balls.
Yeah, right.
And then it's kind of like, okay, another color change. All right, color change. This is a color I've seen before. Okay.
If I've counted correctly, I think I've used 25 balls, not including the balls I'm working with right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, let's not talk about it anymore.
Okay.
I will finish it, but it's like, okay.
Everybody knows that feeling, Marsha. We all understand.
Oh, yeah.
The point where a
and I
gets
say
to be like, okay, when am I going to be finished with this thing?
Yes, and the thing about the blanket, there's no deadline at all, you know? I mean, but I do need to keep, because I thought, if I just did 4 rows a day, because I would, like, if I just did 4 rows every day, it will be done.
Yeah.
It's just that I just can't take it anywhere with me anymore. And also, like, it took up so much space in the car. I couldn't get in the back. It had to be on the back seat with the dog. So, because there was so much stuff going to the beach. Anyway, so we won't talk about that project for a while now. I mean, till next episode. My Anzula Socks. So I don't remember now where I was, but the first sock is done. I have I finished on the second sock last night. I finished the gusset, and now I'm just doing right now as we're talking. I'm just doing the foot, just round and around doing the foot.
Nice.
So that is coming along. Flowers from my garden is what I'm calling my spinning project, and so this is the greenwood fiber and the fiber from Seattle Sky Dye Works. And before I went to the beach, I had finished 3 bobbins, so the 3 different colors. And so at the beach, I plied 2 skeins. So, and each skein is about 300 yards. So that's the thing too about this electric eel is those bobbins are huge. So you can get a very large, you get a large amount of yarn on that then becomes your skein. So, and I still have some more that I could, but I was just kind of tired of it, so I didn't ply. So I can get another skein out of that. It won't be as large, but it's interesting. The 3 bobbins, one is, I believe it's merino and silk. Mm-hmm. The two from Greenwood, one is merino and silk, and the other one is just merino. Same color dyes, but on the 2 different braids. And it's interesting, the merino spun up a lot less on the bobbin than the merino silk. I don't know if my spinning is different or if it's just the fact that the 100% merino is just springier and it just doesn't stretch out as far as
the
something
one
maybe
with silk Polworth.
Oh, maybe you're right.
I think it's Polworth, and maybe that's why.
Okay, let me.
It just doesn't want to spin quite as fine.
I didn't put it in the notes. Oh yes, you're right, Kelly. You're right. So the darker one is the 100% superfine merino, and then the silk is 80% Polworth.
Yeah. So that's why, because it's not as fine a fiber. Okay,
and then the Seattle Sky Dye Works is 75% merino, 15 silk, and 10% yak. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. I'm going to have a lot of the Polworth silk and the merino silk yak left over. But I will have plenty I have a total of 24 ounces, so I'll have a lot of yarn. And I think it's spinning up like DK weight, I think. But it's very pretty. I like it.
It is pretty. I was surprised at how, I guess I shouldn't have been because the one braid is all pink. But I was surprised at how pink, how little green. I thought I don't know, in my head I was thinking that there was going to be a lot more green in the plied yarn than there actually is. But yeah, I think it's really pretty.
And I have a question about spinning too, now that I'm thinking about this. So what I did is each braid, I just broke into 4 pieces, 4, long pieces. And I was thinking, and so my finish yarn has, when I was winding it, applying it onto the bobbin, I could see that I was having like blocks of green, blocks of pink, blocks of light pink, blocks of dark pink, So if I was just to knit this up, you're going to have a lot of stripes forming. So when I do my final project, I will, I'm going to alternate skeins.
Yeah.
But my question is, if I had taken that braid and I had actually broken it into, like 8 strips, wouldn't I get shorter? Because I have less fiber in each strip, wouldn't I get shorter color repeats? Right?
Right.
Because it's...
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think if you broke that into 8, it would start to drift apart. You wouldn't have a...
Okay.
I think it wouldn't have... it depends on the fiber, but I think there's a good chance that if you tried to strip it lengthwise into 8 pieces... you would have ended up with some of them being so small that it was hard to spin.
Okay.
Too thin.
Okay.
Too thin to really...
But my theory's correct.
Yeah.
The practicality of it may not work.
Yeah. If you leave, if you just spin right off of the braid and you don't strip it lengthwise at all, you get super long color repeats.
Yeah.
Because you've got all that fiber that's been dyed green, for example. You're on the green for a long time. And then you move into the pink and you're on the pink for a long time. And so the more you strip it lengthwise, the shorter those color repeats will be. That is true.
Okay. And I was also thinking too, so say you just have a 4-ounce braid and say you split it in half. So you have 2 ounces and 2 ounces. The 1 2-ounce braid, you just start spinning from that. So you're going to have long color repeats. Then the other 2-ounce braid, it may not be possible, but say you could physically split it into 4 half-ounce braids. And then you did your 2-ounce braid and then your 2-ounce braid that's broken up into half ounce. Is that right? Half ounce, 4 half-ounce pieces. And then you plied that together, the color repeats would not line up completely, right?
That's right.
Because, okay.
Yeah, that's called fractal spinning, where you take one part and you split it more than you split the other part. And you could actually do something like, split it in thirds. This isn't going to really be practical. But let's say you had 3 braids of the same fiber and you spin one of them straight. You break the other one up into 2 pieces and you break the other one up into 3 pieces or 4 pieces rather. And then you make a 3-ply, right? You could do that. There's lots of ways to mix and match your width of your strips. And make and do what's called fractal spinning. You still get striping.
Yeah.
But it's a little more predictable, I think, from the pictures that I've seen of people's fractal spun yarn. It's a little more predictable what that striping looks like from one version of a fractal spin to another version of a fractal spin. It's more consistent. Or more predictable. But I don't know that it's less striping.
Okay. Well, and there's ways you could just, as I say, if you alternate skeins, you can manage the striping too, right? To a degree.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. So that's spinning. And then I have a finished project.
Yay.
I finished the Ames beanie, and I used Little Skein in the Big Woods worsted in the colorway Hyde Park. And this is the one that I was hoping to finish at Knocker so I could ring the bell.
Oh,
I
right.
did not get to, but I had made a mistake. Do you remember? Mm-hmm. So I did fix it, and I was able to fix it the first time just ripping back just the 10 stitches back about, or as 9 stitches back about 10, 11 rows. I was able to fix it, and I washed it, and it's I really like it. And I entered it in the 2 Knit-Lit Chicks. I have to say that slowly. 2 Knit-Lit Chicks. Knit along with cables, and I won a prize.
Oh, yay.
So I don't know what it is. I'm excited. It's exciting to win a prize.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's it for me for projects.
Okay. Well, Aunt Betty really liked that hat pattern. She made one. And well, she started it right while you were here. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, she really liked that pattern. So that brings us, I guess, to my projects, huh? Mm-hmm. So I'm right now working on finishing up those crackle towels. So I'm hemming them. I've got 2 projects sitting here. I have got a pair of socks that I'm casting on, and I cast on a few, like probably 3/4 of the stitches. And then I thought, oh no, I think I'm going to finish hemming these towels while we sit here. So I'm hand hemming the crackle towels while we talk, and I'll start the socks later. I have some of them hemmed already. I did 2 of the towels with a really slubby singles cotton, thick and thin, slubby cotton. And it's funny because when my sister saw them, she was here for my niece's graduation. She was down from Washington. And when she saw them, she's like, oh, these are really pretty. But it was kind of dark. You know, it was the evening. It was evening. She stayed overnight. So it was kind of evening. The light in the living room is not that great, you know, because it's the chandelier and the two lamps. And so it's not that bright of a light. And she's like, oh, I really like these. And I thought, oh, I should give them to her. And then I thought, she doesn't really like this color because it's blue. She doesn't like blue. Mm-hmm. I think they seemed gray or green to her, you know, because there's a turquoise and a blue. And that mixture together makes it look and a gray, and the mixture together makes it look green. That turquoise and the gray makes it look green, with the beige natural cotton going through. Anyway, I have them I kept them. I have them in the kitchen because I want to see how that cotton wears as the weft. It's because it's really right now big chunks of it are coming off.
Oh,
you know, it's still sort of shedding little pieces off of its slubby yarn. They've been washed only once, so I want to see how they wear, and I didn't want to give them away because I want to know if I like the way they dry dishes and if they wear well enough, and then I'll start using that because I have a few different cones of that cotton. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it because it is so loose. You know, loosely spun. So we'll see how that works. But the rest of them I'm hemming today. And I've got 2 that I think I'm going to give to a friend who has a really bright kitchen. And then I have 2 of them that they match perfectly with dishes I don't have anymore. Do you remember those sort of pink and blue dishes? They were like Pennsylvania Dutch.
Are they the ones you got as a wedding gift? That people would go to the grocery store and buy, like...
Not the
you made a purchase.
The grocery store ones are like China.
Okay.
And those are blue and silver. They have like a silver rim and the
right. Okay.
Blue. So those are fancier. These were like regular everyday stoneware.
Yeah. I remember those. You don't have that anymore?
No. I got rid of them this winter and put out the ones from that you gave me from Pody, the ones with the suns on them. Robert always hated them. I'll tell you why he hated them. Okay. He hated them because I got them, we got them as a wedding gift, and they were actually a gift to me only.
Oh, yes.
And that just
I know that
irritated him to no end.
I know this story. Yes.
And one day he says to me, so we've been married. We just celebrated our anniversary, 39 years of being married and another 6 years before that of being together. Anyway, he just like last year said to me, do you ever notice when I get out dishes, I never get out those dishes. I never use one of those dishes. Do you ever notice that? When I set the table, I never use those dishes. Like, no, I never noticed that, Robert. I never.
Well, you've been married
been bothering
39 years.
him for 39 years.
Well, and I was going to say, Kelly, you've been married for 39 years. Doesn't he know after all those years that you don't notice stuff like that?
Really? Seriously.
Okay. Anyway.
So many levels. On so many levels, that's just weird. So anyway, I thought, you know what? We had broken several. You know, they had dwindled over the years, and I had the ones with the suns on them, and I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna move these along. So I, moved them along. But anyway, I made these dish towels, and it's this sort of this blue color and a dusty rose color, sort of like the 80s, those 80s colors.
Sort of when you got your dishes.
When I got my dishes, exactly.
Yeah.
So they're perfect for the dishes I don't have anymore.
Your dishes.
Yes, my dishes. They were not Robert's dishes. Like, seriously, who gets mad about that? It was at a shower. It was a wedding shower. He wasn't at the wedding shower. It was to me. Like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Robert's more important than the dishes, so it's okay that the dishes go. Yeah, totally.
So it's like, okay, I've had these long enough. I don't need to keep them. They can move along if they make him feel that strongly. I mean, I never even realized that he felt that strongly about how much he hated them.
Well, we're getting off the topic now of your dish towels, but this is Robert because do you know the infamous Thanksgiving, I believe, or Christmas or something, where you were sitting at the table and my cousin and her daughter were speaking German to each other in front of you guys, like they're having this conversation, and he's saved for how many years a Dear Abby column about how rude it is to speak a foreign language in front of people that don't speak that language. And anyway, it was something about if you're at a party and you start carrying on a conversation in a language that's not the predominant language of the guests,
you're in a group of people. Yeah.
Well, you're in a group of
it's kind of like being in a group of people and then suddenly whispering. I mean, I think that's how he felt, Like
yes, it was rude. He was correct. It's rude.
Get over it.
But he saved that article for a long time. He was really just not. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't get on his bad side because you'll never get off.
Yeah. Don't get on his bad side.
There is no redemption.
But I would say the common things, the two stories, the common thread is not being made to feel welcome or part of the family.
Right. That's true. That's true.
It's about being feeling excluded. So anyway. Anyway. Okay. So, Dr. Marsha has just weighed in on
Yes.
Anyway, but back to the towels.
So two of them are red and blue and gray. Two of them are red and blue and gray and turquoise. Just the red and the turquoise are the weft. And then the warp is blue and gray. So that set with the bright red in it and the bright blue in it is going to a friend. And then I have that same blue with the dusty rose and gray and that sort of purpley gray that was in the other towels. And these are the ones that look like the 1980s called and wants their dish towels back. And I kind of like them, but I think I might give them away. I don't know what her kitchen color is, but I have a friend who said she could never have dish towels from me. She could never have dish towels, hand done dish towels, because in her house they always get so dingy looking. And I thought, well, these are already gray. So perfect, right? So I think I'm going to give them to her. And then And then I have one that's kind of a orange and turquoise. And I kind of like that one, so I might keep that one. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. I mean, I always think you can't just give away one dish towel.
Well, maybe.
They need
to. You can do anything you want.
Well, I know, but it seems like maybe
they have
that
to go
would,
in pairs.
Yeah. Like maybe I'll save it and use it like, I don't know, if I go somewhere and I put, a dish towel in a basket and then just leave it there.
Yeah, like a hostess gift or something.
Yeah. Where you don't need to take your dish home. So I don't know what I'll do with it, but it's kind of pretty. I like it. And I'm not super big fan of this weave structure. I think I mentioned that before. It seems a little messy, but it's kind of growing on me as I'm hemming them. It's kind of growing on me, but it is kind of rustic looking. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty funny. My sister, she saw these and she saw the ones she really liked. And then she saw the ones I had in my kitchen. And she's like, wow, you've really gotten good at this. These are really thin thread. You've really gotten good at this. And I said, Colleen, those were like the first ones I ever made. What she doesn't know is, the different weave structures have different thicknesses. And these look sort of rustic because of the weave structure, partly because the thread is thicker. Right. Yeah. It's just the design of them. But she's like, oh, these, because they're more like store-bought, the ones that are, the ones I'm talking about, the brown ones with the sort of natural color brown with the stripes. Yeah. She's like, oh, you've gotten really, plus they're threadbare. I mean, really? They're so soft and threadbare.
That's why they're so fine, as all the fiber is coming off. It's gone from it,
Exactly. So anyway, people who don't do fiber arts, it's kind of funny what they think about stuff. It's amazing to me. But she also likes the stuff I make, so that's always fun. So I'm finishing those. I also finished Robert's socks.
Okay.
Out of the Pearls Before Wine from the Pearl 2 Walla Walla. And the colorway is called Glamping. But I'm calling them the Barred Rock socks because that's what they look like to me, is a Barred Rock chicken. Mm-hmm. And then they have burgundy heels and toes. And we've talked already about the type of toe he likes. So it has that star toe, I think is what somebody told me it's called. And so it's more like the crown of a hat, basically. And so those are done. And I don't think he's worn them yet. He wanted the leg of the sock a little longer than usual. And that was, I should have cast on more stitches so that it could go up his calf a little bit better without being so tight. But I think they'll be fine. He likes his socks with a lot of negative ease. Super tight. Oh my God. My poor feet would be like screaming to be in socks that tight. So, and then I've been working on the Summer Fjord. And yesterday I got to the point where I had done the back down to a certain level. And I had done the front down to a certain level. And then I was able to join the back and the front yesterday. So I did that. And now I'm at the point where I'm going to put in the stripes. And I got the yarns out for my striping.
Yes. What did you decide to do for the third color?
I haven't started yet, but I got out the colors and I have a picture in my project I haven't linked it. It's not linked in the show notes yet. The link in the show notes is just the pattern. But if you go look at my project page, you can see. So the main color is called Birch, and it's Quince & Company, and it's like a silvery gray, silvery gray blue. It's really pretty. And then I had this navy blue, which turns out it's classified as a sport weight. So it's a little thicker, tiny bit thicker than the Quince & Company Sparrow. It's Euroflax, and it's kind of a navy blue, kind of a cross between a navy and a royal. Not a true navy, but pretty dark. And then I have a skein. It's called Scarlet O'Hara, which it's not scarlet. It's orange. And it's a lace weight. And it's Claudia hand paints. And I made a vest for my mom out of this. One year at Stitches, she saw this vest. And I said, I'll make that for you. So I found the linen to make it. And I had a whole extra skein. I mean, I didn't use any of this skein. So I've got plenty of it. Let's see, how many yards is it? 540 yards. So there's a lot of yardage in this skein. But I think that's what I'm going to use as my smallest contrast color. The one that uses the least amount. So I really like all the colors together. It'll be a really bright pop. So that's kind of what my plan is right now. But I have not wound this orange into, and it's kind of like a burnt orange color, kind of.
Yeah, I'm looking at your project, and then I'm looking at the vest that you made for your mom on your projects.
Oh, wow!
To see the color. Yes, I'm stalking you, Kelly. I'm going to. So when did you make this? Oh, a long time ago. You finished it 2013. Yeah.
Yeah. Pre-podcast.
In fact, I'm looking at you. Actually, are modeling it, and you have your old wallpaper.
Oh yeah,
that's how old this is.
The green wallpaper.
You're in the dining room. Anyway, side note.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to use that one, and then I know I'll have a lot left over of the blue because I have 2 skeins of that blue, and I forget how many skeins is in one of those Euroflax, but it's also a lot. And so I might do a navy one. I've got some khaki cotton and linen spirit yarn that I've been meaning to do something with for a really long time. And so I think I might do a blue one with some khaki. I don't know how many summer fjords can you have when you live in the grayest city of the world.
That's true. That's true.
At least it feels like the grayest city of the world right now.
I have 2. I have 2, and I live in a pretty gray climate too. So
So I'm going to just update people on my lovely forecast for the week. It goes from a low of 59, that will be the high today, to a high of 65 on Tuesday, with most days being 61 or 62. Like, seriously, our heater is still coming on in the morning. It's May. Almost June. So, all right, that's the last time I'll complain about the weather for this podcast.
Yeah, right. I think you complain about the weather in every
I think so too. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh my gosh, except when we went to...
It just feels like it's been particularly bad. But I'm sure if I went and listened to
I want you to go back and listen to every May and June's podcast.
Yeah.
I think you say that this year's been particularly bad.
Yes. I think you're right. I'm starting to feel deja vu.
No, you just need a few days of warm weather, and you'll feel a lot better about all of this. It won't. Yeah.
Well, and I actually got some sun. There was some sun in the afternoon yesterday. I got to enjoy a little bit of sunshine, even though it wasn't warm. There was at least some sunshine. So yeah.
Are you doing any spinning?
I haven't yet. I have that braid I bought at Stitches that I want to crack into, but I haven't started spinning yet.
Well, I want to ask you a question, Kelly.
Okay.
Because our episode about our recap of the Knockers retreat, I forgot to talk about this and ask you this question as you spun a little bit on my e-spinner, but I never asked you what you thought of it.
Pretty good. I liked it. It was easier than I thought in terms of the, like, not having control of the speed. I kind of felt like, oh, that's going to be hard to get used to, that I don't have control of how fast it's spinning. But that, I didn't really feel that way. Of course, I have a lot of experience, so that might be something that a newer spinner would feel, but no, it was nice. I'm not planning to get one anytime soon, but I can see the appeal.
Yeah. And it was nice because I brought it, well, obviously, I brought it down to the Knockers Retreat and I spun on it. And do you remember too, I was having some problems because the battery, it just stopped working, right? And I went and I charged the battery and came back and after a couple of hours and got the battery and put it in, it still was not working. I couldn't figure out what the problem was. And I discovered what the problem was is I plugged it into an outlet in the room that when you turn the switch off on the wall, it turns off the power to the outlet, so it never charged.
Yeah.
So I was really worried that something was wrong with my machine and my battery was not charged. So
that's good.
I used the whole time down. I took it with me to the beach this last week, and the whole time I just used the battery, and it works great. I will say this: we should do another episode about the e-spinner, and I could talk more about it another time. But I will say one thing I have learned is because it has those large bobbins, and they say it holds 8 ounces. I can't get 8 ounces on there, but even 4 ounces, it seems like it's a bit too much weight for it. And so you have to keep tightening up the take-up, what the Scotch tension you would be calling it, but that tightening that up. And then you can go just like a fraction of a little bit too much, and then it starts slowing down the motor. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's a weight issue. I think it's better to not put a full 4 ounces on the bobbins.
Yeah.
And
maybe it has to be really, really balanced.
Yes, and they do say, on the hooks that are on the flyer that there's, you have one closest to you, right, to keep the, and then the one that moves, that you keep advancing. There's one on each flyer, right? And so he said to keep moving those equally, even though the thread is only your yarn is your single's only going through one side. You want to keep advancing the other side too to keep it balanced.
Oh, that makes sense.
And it could be too that I'm not spinning evenly enough. Like, how you're spinning and then you have to keep advancing it. Maybe I'm not advancing it evenly enough, and so it's getting out of a little unbalanced. But I do think that you're also talking a lightweight plastic as opposed to the heavy wood, and I'm wondering if that might be part of it. Is that because the thing is, I don't need to put a full 4 ounces on a bobbin because I can't put a full 4 ounces on the Ashford bobbins, right? The wood ones.
Right.
And it's fine. So I think what I'm going to try the next, because now I have 3 more braids to spin. I think what I'm going to do is spin like half of it on each bobbin and see if I have, because I think it's just too much weight on there. That's my theory. I don't know.
Well, I can tell you that with the little Herbie, when you try to pack too much onto the bobbin, the more you get on the bobbin, the tighter you have to put the tension. Mm-hmm. And I know this because I'm guilty of trying to pack more on than I can actually get. Like, just this last little bit, especially when I'm plying. I want to get until finally I'm like having to really, really treadle hard. To get the thing to go around because I've got so much tension. On the Scotch tension cranked so high that I really have to. So it might be a combination of the weight and imbalance and just the natural, the natural change as you get more on the bobbin. It does need more take up with Scotch tension. I need to get my Wyatt wheel out and oiled. He said, you don't need to use oil on it, but that's not true. He also said that the silicone stuff that he was using to attach the treadles to the, what are they called? I don't remember what they're called anyway. The things that go, there's in the back of the wheel, there's these vertical things that attach to the treadles and crank the wheel. footmen.
Yes.
I
Those
think-
vertical things. That's what they're called. I don't know what they're called.
Yeah. So anyway, those things
They're like
attached
rods or something.
Yeah, those things attached originally to the treadle with a piece of, I think it was like silicone. It was, like plastic. It looked like plastic. And it yellowed and cracked and broke. And when I bought the wheel, he was like, yeah, this is, airline grade, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But in those settings, it's not exposed to the light and, the UV damage. And anyway, I got it repaired. It was a known problem. Apparently, when it did happen to me, he was not still alive, but someone had taken over his business, and it was a known problem. And the guy actually sent me all the tools I needed to replace it with leather. So the old materials are sometimes best, right?
Yes.
So I'm not sure even why I was talking about oiling things. So it does need to be oiled, and it's a lot more finicky because it's double drive. And so I have a little bit more trouble with it. And I think one of my goals for this summer is to get really familiar with that wheel again. It's been a while. When I first got it, I was spinning with it all the time. But I spin on it kind of infrequently now, I'll do one project and then move back to the little Herbie, and then do, 3 or 4 projects on that before I come back to use the Wyatt. So I think I'm gonna take some time to oil and clean it, and then really focus on getting proficient again with that wheel and kind of the feel of it. Because you kind of have to get to know the feel of it. Like, oh, it feels like it needs XYZ, So I need to figure out what its little complaints mean. Sort of like when I first got each of the dogs, have to figure out what they mean when they do this. What are they trying to tell me?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, speaking of spinning, we have our summer spin-in coming.
Yes. So that starts, this is Memorial Day weekend. Memorial Day is tomorrow, Monday, May 29th. And so that's the official start of the summer spin-in. And it runs till Labor Day, which is September 4th.
So I have some prizes from Valley Oak Wool Mill, brought to us by our patrons. And so there will be some spinning wool prizes coming for the spin-in, and some other things as we go along. We'll mention what we have to offer for people who are participating in the summer spin-in. And I'll set up a thread in the Ravelry group, and we can talk about spinning and plan our spinning projects for the summer. So yeah, so that was kind of out of order. But speaking of our patrons, I do have we do have some winners to announce. Remember not last episode, but maybe it was last episode. We got kind of out of sync, or because of the interview, I got kind of lost about which episode was which. But we had winners, our Stitches West Haul winners that we had last time were from the Ravelry thread, and then we said we would draw from our patrons for our Stitches West winners this time. But in the meantime, we've heard the sad news about Stitches and XRS.
Yes. So, as everybody knows, they are about to file for bankruptcy. We've heard they've not actually filed the paperwork, but I don't know. But they are filing for bankruptcy. Everything is shut down. And so we're just going to say, Stitches, we loved you and rest in peace.
Yes.
And we're going to pray for a resurrection that somebody will maybe buy you and we'll be back, because I mean, for us, Kelly, it's a really important part. Stitches has been an important part of the podcast. We meet listeners there. We meet our friends there. Not that our listeners are not friends. It's all the same, but it's a great way to meet people. Sitting in the bar, people would, stop by and just a way to connect with people and meet the vendors and learn about new products. And so it's just really, it's a huge loss, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. And you kind of called it this year when you said that you had talked to so many people who were there just for the social aspect and weren't really planning to buy anything.
Yeah, on a yarn diet, so to speak. And we all should have bought more stuff.
Right. I mean, that's always the challenge, right? You have a yarn shop that you love and you want to support it, but you also look at your stash and you know you have more than you need. And I mean, I would say probably just in general, like a lot of other industries, it's an industry that sort of shrinks and grows, I mean, I remember the early days when I was first listening to podcasts, and I think I mentioned this before, there were podcasters that I was listening to that, they'd have Happy Mail every week. Every episode they had something that had come in the mail, and it was like, wow, that's a lot of, I mean, if you're getting yarn in the mail every week, that's a lot of yarn. Yeah. And you can't knit it as fast as you can buy it, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's a lot easier to buy it than it is to work through it. But at the same time, if you're not buying, then the vendors are not getting the benefit of your business and maybe can't keep going. So yeah, it's very sad. And there's been comments about just the nature of bankruptcy and how it's damaging to everyone it comes in contact with. Right?
Yeah.
It's not a process without, I mean, it definitely has winners and losers, but pretty much everybody involved is a loser to some extent in a bankruptcy situation. It's just sad. Very sad. So yeah, I know people have been encouraging. Oh, I know what I was going to do is I was going to just mention Lambtown put out a post in their Instagram that had the vendors that are going to be at Lambtown and encouraged people to buy from them. And I think I will just read off the list of who they have on this, because I thought these are more local to me than to you, but here are the vendors that they mention: 100 Ravens, A Needle Runs Through It, Bead Biz, Busy Sticks, Carpool, Clemis and Clemis, Greenwood Fiberworks, Invictus Yarn, Kimono Momo, Kira K Designs, Knit This, Purl That, Lickin' Flames, Lisa Souza, Seismic Yarn and Dye Works, Sincere Sheep, Stitch Sisters, the Royal Bee Yarn Company, and Wonderland Dye Works. And I think I'll send this to you so you can put this photo in the show notes. Okay. This is a list of Lambtown vendors, and Lambtown is in October. Let's see, does it say? It does not say. But these are the Lambtown Festival vendors that are impacted by the Stitches XRX bankruptcy. And so they put out a post just letting people know, about the loss that these vendors are facing, and just kind of if you're able to help, if you're in the market for yarn, this is a way that you can sort of alleviate some of that pain that they're going to have to go through. So, but I mean, like Lambtown, that's kind of what's left here as a.
Yeah. And I what I would say too, and this is just completely selfish on my part, is that it was really easy for us to get to because so many of these big fiber festivals like Stitches, and Rhinebeck, are in the middle of the school year. So it was easy for you with your schedule that you could finish work on Thursday, we could go up Thursday afternoon, either to not Santa Clara. That's where it used to be, Sacramento.
Yeah.
But the idea of having to go now to Rhinebeck is challenging because you're in school.
Right.
And so, this was it's a big deal that we won't have it anymore.
And so like red alder, you have red alder up near you.
Mm-hmm.
And
but that's hard for you to come to.
Right.
Because of school. So it's, the
shape of our year will have to change a little bit, sort of the big structure of our yarn festival year will be changing. But anyway, let's move on from the sad note of the loss of stitches, and let's celebrate that it was here at all.
Yes. Yeah.
By announcing these Stitches West winners from our Patreon group.
Yes.
Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay. And so the Patreon winners are, the first one is going to win Oink Pigments Coast in the Shell. And this is a blue and green, kind of a denim-y blue and green and cream colored yarn. This is a DK weight. Oh, no, worsted weight. Now I'm doing it, Marsha. Now you got me doing it. It's the Dapper base of Oink Pigments. So 205 yards of a worsted weight, superwash merino. And so this prize, Coast in the Shell, is going to Pamela Raylick. Congratulations, Pamela. And I have your email address so I can email you, but I'm not going to email you until you've had a couple of opportunities to listen. I'll leave this. People sometimes tend to listen either right away or 2 weeks or so later. So I'll wait till after our next episode. If Pamela hasn't contacted me, I'll actually get in touch with her because I do have email addresses for people who are for our patrons.
And just a reminder, you can contact me through Ravelry, through Instagram, or also through our email address. It's 2us@2usfiberadventures.com.
Yes, so our second winner is Jan of Twin Set Jan, and she won a mini set sock weight yarn from the Weird Sisters Wool Emporium, and the colorway is Mrs. Weasley. And I have to tell you, on the way down to the Washington coast, we go through Aberdeen, Washington, where the Weird Sisters is located. And we went in to visit them, and Kim was with me, and she bought the Mrs. Weasley colorway, not the sock weight set, but it's sock weight, but it's not the mini skeins, which are into each individual color. This is all the colors on sock weight yarn that she's going to make a t-shirt out of, and it's great colors.
Yes,
cute.
I'm kind of surprised.
Yes,
that's not her usual. That'll be outside her usual color scheme.
I know, it's outside
cool.
her wheelhouse. Yes, and so when we were there, I was looking at this mini set, and I was tempted to buy it, but I did not. But so I think Jan is going to really like that. So
and it's perfect. It's perfect for Pride Month because it's not quite a rainbow, but it's like red, a yellow orange, an orange, a green, a purple, a blue. I'm not going in the right order, but two purples, kind of a brownish color. Anyway, very pretty. I think that would be a fun skein of yarn to use, but they're really fun mini skeins. So it's a set of 7 mini skeins. Yeah, so you'll enjoy that. Congratulations, Jan. And then our last winner is another skein of the Dapper worsted weight, 205 yards from Oink Pigments. And this one is called, what is it called? Misplaced Marbles.
Okay, now Kelly, our show notes say it's DK.
Yeah, no, it's not. I'm going to fix that.
Okay.
That's what I was laughing about. because remember how you were getting all the weights wrong?
I know.
And then I got this one wrong when I first announced it. Yeah. But this one is blue and they call it in the fountain pen ink world, they call it blurple. Mm-hmm. So it's like a blue, purple, a green, and a more of that kind of denim-y blue, sort of heathered in with the green. So this is a really pretty color. It does remind me of a marble. I can imagine. I can think of marbles that look like this. So anyway, that's going out to Joan Burtock.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So thank you, all of our patrons. We really appreciate your support on Patreon. And if you would like to join our Patreon supporters, there is a link at the very top of our show notes to our Patreon page. And it's patreon.com/2U's, TWOEWES. So if you'd like to become a patron. And thank you to our patrons for all of the prizes that we gave out. The Weird Sisters, I want to thank the Weird Sisters for the mini set because they donated that to us. But the 2 Oink Pigments skeins were actually purchased by the support of our patrons. So we thank them for that. And to everyone who's waiting for their prizes, school is out and it's on my list. Sorry for the delay.
Yeah. Yes. Thank God school is out.
Yeah.
You could.
Yeah. And
take a break.
Mm-hmm. And not to go into a whole other topic at the end of the episode, but so next year, the current president of the Academic Senate has stepped down. And I knew this was going to happen, that he was going to have to step down. And I'm vice president, so I'm going to be president of the Academic Senate next year. And then I'm also curriculum chair that I've been doing for many years now. And between those two things, I'm going to be 100% reassigned from teaching. So although I do like teaching, I have to say with all the differences and changes that have come about as a result of just the pandemic and student demand for online and hybrid classes, and technology changes that have, helped make some things better, but also made some things worse. The level of content creation that has to happen to teach a class in those formats, I'm actually looking forward to having a break.
Yeah.
So I'll have a year of no classes and students, no prepping, because I basically haven't taught the same classes in the same format more than once. I'll teach it, and then the next semester I have it. Maybe I'll have that same class, but it's not hybrid, it's fully online, or it's not fully online, it's face-to-face, and then it's hybrid, and then it's been a lot of change, and I'm actually looking forward to having a little break from all of that. And hopefully when I come back to the teaching, I'll be able to get a handle on how that all fits together. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I think we've taken care of all of our business.
And then some.
And then some. All right. Well, I guess on that note, then I guess we'll say goodbye and we'll talk in 2 weeks.
Yes. And happy spinning. Get spinning.
Yes.
We didn't talk about the summer spin-in on, in the lead up. We didn't talk about, we were going to have it or when it was going to start or anything. But this episode will be the official.
We're just springing it on people.
Yes, we're springing it on you.
Yeah.
Get spinning.
Yeah. So,
all
okay,
right.
We'll talk.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2usfiberadventures.com.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion, and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2Us
doing our part for World Fleece.